Hi guys, welcome to Digital TechJoint. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can call store procedure from ASP.NET MVC application. I'm going to use Visual Studio 2022 and I'm using .NET Framework 6.0. And here is a MVC application template which is already loaded. It's a new project. And I'll be calling the store procedure that is available in Microsoft SQL Server Management. I'm using 2012 version, which is an Express edition which I downloaded from the internet. It's a free community version. So here I'm going to create a database first. So let me call it as calling SP demo. So this is my database name, calling SP demo, and let me go ahead and add one table. Let me add a simple table to demonstrate this. I say id int name varchar and then mobile and then email. So this is my simple table. I just click on id and mark this as integer and also define identity specifications as yes, so that it is auto generated incremental, and I want to save this and name it as customers. So now we have our database calling SP demo and the table. I have not created the procedure yet. Before that, let's go and set up our application with the connection string and everything. So I go to app setting, I just enter before the logging tag and just paste it. This is my connection string. So what does the connection string have? It has a server name. This is my server name for eternity. And then database is not SP demo, but it's calling SP demo. And then integrated security is through. That means I'm not providing any username and password. It is taking by default the Windows credential. And trust server certificate through. So this is a connection string. Now once a connection string is done, let's go click on the models and add one class. Name this as customer entity. So this is my customer entity class, and I'm going to define the IDs which I defined in my table. So this will be ID, and then this will be name, this will be mobile, and finally this will be our email, and this is my key. So my model is defined. Now we have the model class ready. Before we proceed with setting up our application DB context class, let's go ahead and add the required packages. Right click on the project and say new that packages, and we are going to add first the entity core. So here is the entity core. We add this version, and then we are going, since we are working with SQL Server database, we are going to use, let me add okay. So I search for SQL Server and then entity framework. Yeah, so here this entity Microsoft Entity Framework Core SQL Server. You add this library. So these two libraries are enough, and these are already installed over here. Now let's go right click, add a folder as data layer. Let me add a class called application DB contest. This is my application DB contest class. Now this class will implement DB contest, and it is not able to find because okay. So now it is added automatically the required library. So this is my DB contest class. I just click on the DB contest, and then on the extreme left hand side I click and generate constructor using options. So this is a constructor, and I'm going to inject the connection string from my program class file. Okay, this is one thing, and let me also add the db set. So I go and say db set, and I use the customer entity, and this is the name of the table. So I already defined the name of the table as customers. So this flag will represent the table that is over here, customers. Okay, so this is done. Now let me go ahead and do a dependency injection and inject the connection string in the constructor, which I'm going to do it from the programs file. And here I'm going to use, before the application builders dot, I'm going to add the dependency injection over here. Builder dot services dot add db contest, and I'm going to name the class application db contest. Application db contest, this is the class that I've created. And options, I'm going to say options dot use SQL server, and inside that I'm going to say builder dot configuration dot get connection string, and this is default connection that I've defined. So this becomes my connection string. Here app setting, if you go, this is default connection which I've called over here, default connection. So my connection string is ready, my db contest is ready. So now let's go ahead and add the controller. So first thing we are going to do is that add a controller, and here I'm going to show you how will we call the stored procedure. Now it's better that we go ahead and create the procedure first, so that we can refer that in the controller class. So guys, I have a table over here. Let me go and add some records. So this is one user. I've added 3 records to the database. Now let me go ahead and add the procedure. You click on the database calling SP, and I'm going to create new query window, and here I'm going to create the procedure. So first procedure which I will be fetching all customer records, no filters. So I'm going to say create procedure get all customers. So this is my procedure name, and I'm going to say as begin and end. What this is going to do is simply select all from customers. This is my procedure, and I'm going to just execute this. It got executed. I can just check. I say execute get all customers, and it should fetch me all the records. Okay, get execute get all customers. So you are able to see my procedure is working. Now let me create a second procedure right now, which will get single record. So this is a second procedure which I'm creating. Okay, so I just copy this procedure. Now this procedure will have a parameter, so which will be after @ and call it as ID, and it will be int, and this will be get single customer record. Okay, and then it says select all where ID is, and we pass this parameter. Fine. So this is our second procedure. Let me execute this. It got executed. Let me test it. So I say execute get single customer record, and I pass 1 and select it and execute. I should be able to see John record. Cool. Now let me go ahead and also do an update. So let me write another query procedure, say update customer record. I'm going to copy the same thing, and here I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to say update customer record. Okay, so here it takes ID which is required. Then for updating I'm going to say mobile, and I'm going to update the mobile. Then I'm going to say email, I'm going to update the email. So 3, and here I'm going to change it. I'm going to write the query update customers set mobile equals to @mobile, comma, and email equals to @email, where ID is, and we pass the parameters. So our update procedure is also ready. Let's test this procedure also. So now I say select all from customers, and so you can see, so I'll update John record. So I'm going to say execute update customer record. I'm going to pass the ID, I'm going to pass the mobile number. Let me keep the mobile number as it is, and let me change the email address to john@apple.com. okay, let's execute this query, and it's got updated, one record updated. Now if you say select all from customers, and you see, okay, so here there is some issue. Okay, so it's by default in your update proc I have not provided the length, so it has taken by default 1. So I'm just going to alter this and update it. I'm going back over here and I'm going to update this, and you can see it's got updated. Fine, so we have all these 3 procedures. Let's go to our Visual Studio now and add a controller, and let's take a empty controller and name it as customers. So this is my controller. Now this is a default index. Now let's go ahead and create a view. Right click first, right click on the index, say add view, say add, and let it be the same index, and it is added. Now you can see there is a folder created under views as customers, and the index, it is empty right now. First you go ahead and write the code over here. So let's go ahead and write the index code. Okay, so now first we'll go ahead and call our application DB context class. So we say private read only application DB context class and underscore DB. Then we'll add a constructor. See, so in order to add a constructor, I type CTOR tap 2 times. The constructor is created, and I'm going to pass application DB, and here I'm going to initialize underscore DB, which is passed over here. So my underscore DB is initialized. Now I'll come to index view. Now guys, here I'm going to call the first procedure, that is getting all the records. So I'm saying where, and say get all customer details, get all customers, and then I'm going to refer the DB context class dot r customers, that DB set that I've defined in my data layer. You can see I defined this over here. This is representing the table, and here now I'm going to use the method called from SQL raw, and here inside that I'm going to simply call the procedure get all customers. I'll paste that over here and say to list, and then I'm going to pass on this value to our view. So this is a code that simply fetches calls the procedure from the database and fetches the record and pass it to the view. Let's go ahead and also add code that will fetch the record, single record of the customers. Let's finish our controller class and all the code, and then create the UI and see the things in action. So I'm going to create public action result, and I'm saying get details, and I'm going to pass the ID. So this will fetch single record. For that I'm going to call the same method over here and just paste it, but here instead of passing get customer, I'm going to call the second procedure, which is get single record, get single customer record, and here I'm going to pass the parameters as well. So I say dollar before the double quotes, and here I'm going to put a space, open close parenthesis, and then I'm going to say ID. Okay, and this won't be a to-do list since I have to fetch the model. This will be representing our customer entity model, so I'm going to convert that enumerable and say first and default. So this code will fetch the single record. So I'm going to just say get single data, and I'm going to pass this over here. So this code will actually, here you can see we are passing the parameters. Okay, and this is the value that is passed over here to the procedure, and it replicates. So since this is expecting ID, we are passing ID, and it will fetch, it will go inside, call this SQL statement and fetch the single record, and which will be passed to the view. Now let's go ahead and write code that will update the record. So for that I'm going to, since it will be a post, because we are going to update, add some values and then post. So I'm going to call public sync task action result. This will be update details. Here I'm going to pass ID. I want to update the mobile, and I want to update the emails. So now the second thing I'm going to do is that I need to pass all these parameters to the procedure in a similar format. But since there are multiple fields, I will be using the SQL parameter object. So I'm saving the var param, so new SQL parameters, and inside this I'm going to say new param. This will be a first entry, so I'm going to say parameter name is @ID. This will be what data type, integer, and finally what is the value, comma, and this will be value, and I'm going to pass this over here. So this will be the value. Similarly I'm going to copy this and paste it 2 times, 1 and 2, because I need to pass mobile, which will be varchar, value will be mobile, which is pass in the parameters over here, and then this will be email, and this will be email, and I'm going to just put a semicolon. So this works. So our parameter list is ready. So this is a parameter list. Now we come down and just copy this code over here, paste it, and this will be customer update result. So here instead of the entity customer, we are going to call the database. So underscore db dot database, and this will be execute SQL raw async. execute SQL, yeah, this one, execute SQL raw async, and here I'm going to pass update customer record, and with that I'm going to also append execute, which I did it over here, execute, and then execute the procedure, and then I'm going to pass the parameters at the rate ID, comma at the rate mobile, comma at the rate email. So these are the parameters, and I'm going to remove this enumerable, and then I'm going to say comma param. So param is I'm passing all these parameters in one variable. So all these values, so this is the procedure, this is the expected input parameters, and this is a value. So this is done. Now this will return either -1 if the record is not updated, or it will return 1. So accordingly we will redirect to our page. So if customer update result equals to 1, then we are going to say return redirect to action, and this will be our index. Else we are going to say return view. So this will be else, this will be return view. So our code is ready. We are getting an exception because because this is an async method. I forgot to mention await. So this is a code. So we have all three code ready. We have code ready to fetch all the record, fetch only single record, and update the record also. Now it's time that we go ahead and build our UI. So we go to our view. So we already created one UI called index. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to paste the HTML, but before that I'm going to refer that model. The model will be enumerable, and here I'm going to pass the customer entity. Okay, so now the HTML code, I'll just copy and paste the HTML code. Okay, so here's the HTML code. It's a very simple code. Here I'm creating a table, and then I'm creating the column, which is ID, name, email, mobile, and then I'm writing a for each syntax, and I'm displaying all the records. For simplicity, I've just added the edit, because in the demo I'm going to show how to call the data, then edit the data and save it. Then remaining for delete, you will have to, and update I'm already showing, so delete you'll have to do as an homework. So this is a code that is a simple code that I'm displaying. Let's run this code and see things in action. So I'm going to just go to shared also, and in the layout I'll just add the link so that we don't have to type in the URL, this page customers. So here I'm going to replace home with customers, and index is the same. I run the application now. So let's click on the home button now. So when you click on the home button, a method will be called, and we should be able to see display the records that is there in the table. I did not add a breakpoint, but we can do that. So here we go, we can see all the records added in the database, and now we also have that edit. So when you get the mouse over the edit, you can see on the address bar below, you can see the ID is displayed, and the get details is also there. So basically our details are getting fetched using the procedure. So this code is able to fetch the record. I'll put a breakpoint and call again. Now we will going to call get details. Let's go to our view and make sure that this action method is defined over there. So now when you go to our here, so here see the action is already defined, get details, and it is parsing the ID. So that means in our controller this method will be called. Let's put a breakpoint over here, but we have not added the view for this yet. So first I'll show you the get all code in a breakpoint mode, and then we'll proceed in adding the view for the get details. It's a simple line of code, but I still like to run through the code. So click on the home. The moment I click on the home, a breakpoint is called, and here as I mentioned, I'm calling get all customer. This is a procedure in database to list, and then it iterates through all the record, and then it passes that into the view, and we are able to see the record. Now let's go ahead and add the details page. So right click on get details and say add view. Select a empty razor page. Just name it as get details. Okay, so here I'm going to refer the model as customer entity, and I'm going to paste the HTML code. So here is the HTML code. This is a simple UI. I'll just walk you through this HTML code. So basically we have created a div class, and then we have used form, because once you click on the submit button, you are supposed to call this update details, which is there in our customer context. This is update details, which will actually update the record. I'm going to put a breakpoint over here. So this is the first line, form method, and then we have a div of summary validation. Then we have one div label and input for the name, mobile, email, and the submit button. Here we have also passing input type hidden, which is an ID. So this is a UI. Let's go and run the application, and this time let's click on edit and see the things in action. So this time we are going to test a second procedure, that which is an edit, and which will fetch single record from calling the store procedure. So we click on home button. So here we are going to click on edit for John. We click on edit, and you can see our breakpoint is called here. If you get the mouse over ID, you can see the ID is passed, and this is the code that will fetch the single record. It's the same as this code, but here I'm also passing the ID parameters, and I'm converting that into a customer entity model. So this gets called, and this is passed in the view, and we should be able to see John record in a UI. So here you can see John, mobile, and email. Let's go and change the number. So this is a number change, and we will get back John to Yahoo domain, so yahoo.com. Let's click on save. Now when you click on save, I put a breakpoint. We'll also go through the update method. So when I click on save, so our update method is called. Here I'm passing the ID, the mobile number which is changed, and the email. Now this is a SQL parameter which is passing all the values over here, and finally it calls the execute SQL raw database execute SQL raw, pass the procedure, the parameters that are there in the procedure, and the values, updated values. Let's click on, let's get the breakpoint next level. Let's get the mouse over customer updates it. You can see it is 1 that will successfully updated, and now it will redirect to our index page, and we should be able to see the changes there. So you can see John email address is changed, and even the mobile number. So we were able to call all the functionality. We were able to do all the CRUD operation. We called the get all procedure, get single procedure, and also showed you how to do an update record using calling the procedure. Now in your activity, you should be able to also add code to delete the record from the database table using calling the store procedure of delete. So when you do delete procedure, you have to create a procedure which will take an input as ID, and then you have to write a query as delete from the table where ID is this. So here I was successfully able to show you how do you call a procedure. Maybe it will be required in any of your scenarios, in any of the project where you need to call the procedure from the database, and you can definitely use this method to do the same. Guys, I hope you like the videos. Please do subscribe my channel, share it with your friends and colleagues, like all my videos, and help me grow my Digital TechJoint channel. Thank you so much for your time.